On today's episode, it's finally Infinity War week. I'm ready, you're ready, my cat's ready. Let's go! What is up, guys? Welcome to What We Watched. I am Matt, and before we get too deep into it, you may have noticed my really awesome shirt. My friend Jason, he is the frontman for a band called Michigander. If you have not checked them out, you definitely should. I'll link to their Spotify down below. Be sure to check them out. Maybe buy their new album, Midland. It's fantastic from start to finish, or maybe even check them out on tour. All those links in the description below. If you're looking for some new music, go ahead and check that out. Well, it's Infinity War week, and so for the next couple of episodes, that is going to be our focus. We are going to be zoomed in on what might be the movie-going experience of at least the decade. We've had 10 years building up to these films, and we cannot wait for them to actually hit the theaters. Let's hope that our expectations are not too high. So far, Marvel has done a fantastic job of not disappointing when they've set the bar high. But that leads us to a lot of questions. What are you thinking is going to happen in Infinity War? We're thinking with all this buildup, something has to happen, something big. And so today, we're going to make some predictions. My first prediction is that Thanos doesn't die. I don't even know if we're going to get that big climactic ending of Thanos. What I think that this, movie of Infinity War is going to be is him just trying to collect all of the Infinity Stones. And I think that maybe we might just see him get very close, or maybe get all 5, but maybe not even wield them in their full power. So we might not get that big smash hit fight that we are hoping for. I would love to see that, but I'm wondering if this is almost all the setup, because originally this was supposed to be a part 1, part 2. And if this is just going to be a big build-up, and we're going to see him with the Infinity Gauntlet and all the Infinity Stones in a future movie. My second prediction is one of the big boys has to die. Now, this is a very popular one, and it's actually a problem I've had with Marvel, is they've always been afraid to, literally, I guess, pull the trigger. Where they, even with little things, like, why on earth did Rhodey survive that? And then he was paralyzed. But then later we see that in Wakanda that they're able to heal stuff like that. And so there's just no collateral damage when it comes to these things. That was actually one of my biggest complaints about Civil Wars. I felt like at the end of the day, it didn't matter a ton. Yes, there was strained relationships, and Captain America had to go into hiding. But at the same time, there was no big, huge giveaway. The fact that Quicksilver is the biggest death to date, and he was introduced in the same movie he was killed in. All of that just kind of, there's my cat again. Hey, kid. All of that just kind of points out to the fact that they haven't had that big dramatic thing. So I will be massively disappointed. This is the most morbid thing. Massively disappointed if nobody dies. I mean, the number one candidate for me is Iron Man, just because they've been threading him a lot in the other movies. And then secondly, I think it's Captain America. But I'm mostly leaning on Iron Man just because, he was in Homecoming. He's kind of like the mentor leader of the group. And I think it would be a big deal if he finally fell. That leads us to our third prediction, which actually, I think there's going to be a lot of death. But the reason being is, I think they're going to start introducing a little bit of cross-dimensional stuff and time travel. The reason for this is I think they're going to open the door where maybe we even get a fake out of some kind. Maybe a lot of people die. We see Black Widow die, and Spider-Man die, and Bruce Banner die, and all these different people die just to have them come back later, or maybe even as different characters. Like I said earlier, this Marvel Cinematic Universe has been around for 10 years, and we're getting to the point where they're going to eventually have to pass the mantle onto somebody else. We're seeing with different things, especially with the introduction of Spider-Man, how you can even open up the whole idea of maybe different timelines and different people. And I would love to see them kind of start cracking that open just a little bit. So maybe we see someone die, we see the time stone used to reverse that and bring someone back to life, or we're starting to see maybe with the Space Stone some interdimensional travel, and we see people come back. So maybe you have Iron Man come back, but it's played by a different person, and that's how they kind of explain this. But I think that we might start to dive into that just a little bit. This one's a little bit of a negative, but I think Thanos' Black Order is going to be heavily misused. Now, the Black Order, for those who don't know, is sort of like his henchman, his hitman that he kind of sends onto tasks and missions. And while they could be very cool and they look very diverse, for some reason I had this gut feeling they're just going to be misused, that they're just going to be lackeys, and they're going to be kind of like mini bosses before we get to Thanos. So I hope that doesn't happen, but I just have, with how Marvel sometimes struggles with villains, I think that everything's leading up to Thanos. And so I think that throughout this movie, you're going to have a bunch of mini boss fights where the Black Order is a little bit easier to take out, and they will just be kind of used as punching bags that, yes, have some cool moments, but at the end of the day, kind of just are there so the Avengers can triumph over them pretty quickly. And my last prediction that I'm going to make for this movie is the location of the Soul Stone. Now, this is one that there are theories all over the place of where is the one Infinity Stone that we don't really know where it is. And my thought is someone's going to have to die to get to it. Now, we know that Vision will probably die, so because there's literally an Infinity Stone in his head. But there's been a few different theories, whether it's in Tony Stark's arc reactor, which wouldn't make sense because I'm pretty sure he built that himself, so he would have known that there was an Infinity Stone in there. But whatever. And so, or maybe like it's in Captain America, or it's something like that. One thought that I think is probably going to happen is the fact that Black Panther has it somewhere. Whether he personally has to die, or maybe he symbolically has to die to go into the spirit world, kind of like we saw in Black Panther when he went to go see the elders and his father and all of that. A really interesting thought was the whole idea of how Killmonger had to burn up all of the heart-shaped herb that they would use, and maybe underneath that is where an Infinity Stone is, so they can finally discover it now that all of that is burnt up. But I think that maybe they intentionally go through that whole process where he has to be buried and all of that and go there, and maybe his father gives him that. Or maybe we even see another character go through that process. Maybe they send in Tony so then he can go talk to his father to find out where the final Soul Stone is. But I think that Tony would be a really good candidate. That if they bury Tony Stark the same way that they do with Black Panther, and he's able to go to that and maybe find his father, and his father gives him the Soul Stone. I could see that being a really cool thing, but I do think that someone has to die either literally or kind of use that, kind of get a jail-free card of the process of being buried and drinking the juice from the heart-shaped herb to be able to pass into that spirit realm to be able to get the Soul Stone. So those are a few of my predictions. I have a billion other ones that are kind of just bouncing around in my brain, but I'm just super excited to see what actually happens. What do you guys think is going to happen? Let me know your craziest conspiracy theories or movie theories and all your proof down in the comments below. Start arguing with people. Obviously, down there is a spoiler-filled area, so just be aware of that. If for some reason you have not seen any of the Marvel movies and you haven't gotten caught up before Infinity War. Well, that is it for today's episode. We will be finishing our rankings of all of the Marvel movies on Wednesday. Hope to see you there. We'll have a full review of Infinity War. I got my tickets. I'm ready to go. On Friday morning, we will be posting that review. Also, make sure that you follow me on Stardust, because Thursday night I will be posting my reaction as soon as I get out of the movie. If you just cannot wait to know what I have to say about it. And I would love to see your guys' reaction, so make sure you follow me on Stardust, and I'll go ahead and follow you back. I would love to hear what you guys thought of the movie. Well, that is it for today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, I will see you guys on Wednesday.